I just want to read a letter right now, just from Stas Golonka. He sent a letter out to everybody. He says, "Hello to all and greetings from Chicago. I am truly honored that the I.P.A. and fellow musicians are bringing my music and the unique sounds of hunky-style polka music to you today. I have always loved performing for all my polka friends, and I am glad to know that the musicians here today will bring that love of performance and happiness to all of you. Please enjoy the hunky-style music, and remember to forget me never, as I think of all my polka friends and look forward to seeing you at upcoming festivals and events this summer. God bless and Stas Golonka." Right now we're going to turn it over to Mark Chepach, and he's going to be commentating on this, and Stas Golonka will be on the man sitting here.
Thank you, Freddie. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome here to the PACC here in Ludlow, and an event that has become a much anticipated annual event. This year, it's my distinct pleasure to be here to salute one of the most popular names in polka music. I refer to, of course, the great Stas Golonka. This afternoon, we hope to do justice in acknowledging the amazing career of Stas, and we'll do so through a nice selection of just a few tunes that he made famous over his more than 5.5 decades in polka music. We'll also give you some interesting insight into Stas's long career, and in doing so, you may learn some things about him that you had never heard before. And I'm sure we will. Many of you in attendance today have taken this polka journey along with Stas Golonka, and will recognize each and every tune. Some of you may have known him at different points in his career, and hopefully will be reminded of those times. For everyone, however, it is hoped that the songs we play here today will capture the flavor of Stas Golonka brought to the stage each and every night that he performed. Even though we won't have the benefit of his presence here tonight, it is those signature tunes which, even for many of us as musicians who have played alongside of him, are a treasure trove of great memories. Before we begin, we want to acknowledge and thank the coordinators of today's musical tributes: I.P.A. Hall of Famer Lenny Gomulka, I.P.A. Hall of Famer Dennis Poliski. We'd also like to thank and acknowledge those responsible for coordinating this event: I.P.A. Hall of Famer and I.P.A. Second Vice President Freddie K. Konjerski, also Mr. Ed Schilla, also Linda Konjerski and Carol Blyda, without whom none of this would have been possible. We'd also like to thank the musicians who have come together here this afternoon to help bring this musical tribute to Stas Golonka to life. I.P.A. Hall of Famer Kevin Adams on trumpet, I.P.A. Hall of Famer Al Piatkowski on concertina and accordion, Timmy Dinyarz on bass, Matt Rosinski on clarinet and sax, and depicting the role of Stas Golonka, I.P.A. Hall of Famer Lenny Gomulka. As this afternoon is all about music and the impact it had on Stas, and even the larger impact it had on polka music, let's get things rolling with a tune from the very first album by Stas Golonka and his Chicago Masters. This was an album that was released back in 1976. The name of the album is The Honky Sound of Polkas, and it's the song that turned out to be one of his biggest hits, Life Together.
Take my hand and walk together down the road of life forever. You and I will be so happy, and our love will always be. The years of tears and sorrow on the path of sunshine days. Your hearts will love forever, remembering our wedding day. Woo-hoo! dzieci, będziesz ty moja żona. Ja cię będę kochał zawsze, będę cię szanował. Ty będziesz miała jak w niebie, zawsze będę cię kochał.
Conflicting dates as to when Stas was actually born, conflicting years. I have 1942 and I have 1944. So when I talked to Stas and asked him which one is correct, he merely said, use the one that makes me younger. He wouldn't tell me which year he was born. So we're going to go in 1944. Stas was born in 1944, grew up in the near south side of Chicago neighborhood of Pilsen. His parents, of course, were Polish Americans, and all of his grandparents were immigrants from Poland. The year that Stas was born, Little Wally, who at the time was only 12 years old, was just breaking into the Polish polka scene in Chicago. He sang old Polish folk songs with a phenomenal voice and was accompanied by bands that were developing a new and distinctively Americanized style of playing Polish music. As Stas's family regularly attended dances and musical events at picnic groves, taverns, dance halls in the Polish neighborhoods of Chicago, he had the opportunity to see and hear Little Wally and such other greats as Casey Świderski and Eddie Zima. It was at this time the seed was planted for what was to become a long and successful music career in polka music. From the 1978 album release of Here Comes Stas, here's a rendition of a song that was actually written by Paul Anka. Do I Love You?
Hey, here we go, another Do I love you? Do I love you? Don't you know my love? Do I need you? Do I need you? Must I show you how? Do I love you? Do I love you? Yes, I have to say. Yes, I love you. Yes, I love you in every way. When I saw you for the first time and you looked my way, then I knew in my heart love was here to stay. Yes, I love you. Yes, I need you. Yes, in every way. Especially today, our wedding day. Czy mnie kochasz, tak jak kocham cię. Czy mnie kochasz, że cię nie bój się. Ja cię kocham, że mnie w sercu mam. Tyż tu anioł Gospodź nieba, ja cię kocham. Jeszcze raz cię widziałem, byłaś tak jak ja. Byłaś piękna jak laleczka, to 16 lat. Ja cię kocham, mój tak serdecznie. Powiedz szepcze, czy kochasz mnie?
addition to his love of polka music, Stas was a big fan of popular music and all the singers of his day. Stas was known for taking classical popular tunes and putting his own stamp on them. His Dean Martin-like vocals that you've heard so many times, but yet Little Wally influenced Polish vocals and energetic honky-style rhythms helped him quickly become labeled as the king of honky. Now typically waltzes tend to get very little respect in a polka dance, but few performers can sing a waltz as effectively and emotionally as Stas Golonka did. In his career, he recorded a number of them that became much requested favorites, and here is one of them. A tune that was originally recorded by the great George Jones back in 1966, Stas's rendition of Walk Through This World With Me. When Stas entered his teen years in the mid-50s, Little Wally was at the peak of his career. His grueling tour schedule, driving to one-nighters all over the Midwest and East, wore many of his sidemen down. It was at that time one of Stas's friends told Wally about a young kid that he knew that played drums and sang just like Little Wally. Wally immediately contacted Stas and hired him to tour with him for the summer. On many of Wally's recordings, Wally had overdubbed a harmony vocal to his own singing. With Stas now in the band, Wally switched over from drums to concertina and sang duets with Stas, coming close to duplicating the vocals on those recordings. Stas finished high school and went into the military, but he also continued to play with Little Wally whenever he could. In 1967, Stas left the service, got married, and started to raise a family. By then, life on the road had already taken a toll on Little Wally's health. Wally had moved to Florida, performing only occasionally, but continued to produce his recordings. He went north only in the summertime to perform, using local musicians to back him. It was at that time that Stas's newly formed band, the Chicago Masters, helped fill the honky-style music void in Chicago left by Wally's departure. As to be expected, Stas Golonka and the Chicago Masters were called upon many times to back up Little Wally when he returned to town. Here's another Stas Golonka adaptation of a popular tune recorded by a singing group called Little Anthony and the Imperials. From the album Here Comes Stas, this is Take Me Back.
zanoszę, proszę. Byłem właśnie niewierny. Proszę, że mnie nazad, ojcze mnie. I beg you, take me back, I'm on my knees. For you hurt me, hold me slowly, darling, take me back. Weź mnie nazad, ojcze, proszę. Byłem dla ciebie niemem. Proszę cię, nie weź mnie, żebym cię nazad do ciebie.
One major ingredient to Stas's successful musical career with his newly formed band, the Chicago Masters, was that he had always surrounded himself with many of the best players in polka music, both on stage and in the studio. Such prominent names as Eddie Shevitz, Tommy Kringle, Johnny Wonderland, Dave Matera, Jerry Mintek, Bill Gula, Mike Janaszewski, Jim Chainsaw Kraharski, and the late Drew Kranowski, and also Lenny Gomulka, just to name a few. And even I, as well as several of the musicians up here on the stage, had the privilege of playing with Stas several times over many years. Another such musician was Buffalo native Zeke Isula, who had relocated to Chicago and played accordion with Stas and the Chicago Masters for over 30 years. Zeke's unique style of playing honky accordion brought a new added dimension to the Stas Golonka brand of honky-style music. This was most evident on the albums Hooked on Honky and Stas Golonka Live. Right now, a selection from Stas's Hooked on Honky album, a tune that was written actually by Al Martino and recorded by one of Stas's all-time favorite pop singers of his time, Dean Martin. The tune, One Heart Waltz. There's only one problem, Lenny. You got the part about the words falling off the tom-tom that happened to Stas all the time, but you're actually using the hi-hat. You don't understand. Your Stas's idea of using a hi-hat, you close up the top cymbal, make it flat, and then set your drink on it. He thought it was like a nightstand or an end table.
Seen that done before.
For 18 years, Stas combined music with working a full-time job as a meat cutter in a sausage factory until the firm eventually went out of business. Now, contrary to speculation and rumors, Stas did not pay his musicians in sausage.
No, ham.
It was ham once in a while. They're laughing because they think we're kidding. Cute. No, we're not kidding. Since that time, anyway, Stas had devoted his entire efforts of music into music. He and his band had toured extensively, following many of the same routes to Polish communities across the country as he did during his time with Little Wally. From the album, here comes Stas. Here's one called Golonka Polka. Career, Stas remained devoted to the original honky sound. There were a couple of times that he attempted to perform with his brother-in-law's band, a push-style band called the Keynotes out of Chicago. However, he maintained that it just didn't feel right and it wasn't his style. His heart truly was in honky-style music. His clear and expressive voice was in the trademark of Stas Golonka and also the trademark of his band. He typically sang solo, clearly enunciating the words in both Polish and English. Stas speaks Polish fluently and does understand the words he is singing. He made setting a rollicking drum beat and singing with heartfelt expression look effortless. Stas loves singing the old Polish love songs and folk songs, converted pop tunes, and songs that celebrate the good times. Here's a song from Stas's album, A Bundle of Polkas, released back in 1981, a song called Where Was I?
Some sunshine. Where was I when you were gone down in the rain? Here I am, right by your side again, knowing that you are mine. Where was I when you were looking for some sunshine? Where was I when you were caught down in the rain? Here I am, right by your side again, knowing that you are mine.
In his early days of performing, the polka world quickly discovered what a unique talent and gifted performer Stas was, and his popularity soared. His honky sound became in demand everywhere from the Midwest to the East Coast and all through New England as well. In fact, Stas once remarked that he must have passed the Statue of Liberty at least 75 times en route from the dance halls of New Jersey up to New England, where he so often played. Aside from his strong, heartfelt singing abilities, Stas earned the love and respect of fans across the country, not only for his talent on stage, but also for his warm and magnetic personality and his connection with his fans when off the stage. Suffice to say, everyone loved Stas Golonka. Here's another popular song that Stas adapted from one of his all-time favorite singers, Dean Martin. It's called I'm Living in Two Worlds.
each night and day. But when I'm in my world, the storm clouds appear. I'm living in two worlds. I wish you were near.
Two worlds. Lenny, did Stas send you that shirt? That's the one that everybody used to say when we used to wear playing with Stas, we looked like a bunch of postage stamps.
These American flags were Stas's trademark for many years.
They were.
So I thought it was, 95% was showing up on time with the shirt on. So.
Yeah. Indeed. Well, here's a good one. As a child, Stas learned to play accordion. Believe that or not, he started out on accordion and drums. His high school was on the north side of Chicago in the Division Street neighborhood that was known as Polish Broadway of that era. Somebody actually recorded a song about Polish Broadway. I don't remember who it was, but anyway. At times, Stas could be seen jogging through the neighborhood. This is good too. Imagine Stas Golonka jogging through a neighborhood, but he was very young. He could be seen jogging through the neighborhood alongside of another young musical upstart friend of his name, Lenny Gomulka. Jogging? Dozens of taverns in that neighborhood featured live polka music. Little Wally would regularly play at the famous Lucky Stop, where Stas and his schoolmates would actually sneak in through the side door to listen to the small but mighty one. It was Stas's dream to become a singing drummer just like Little Wally. Over time, Stas's singing and drumming came to resemble Wally's. It was in the early 1950s that Stas then formed his very first polka band called the Polka Diamonds. Now, there's little denying the influence that Little Wally had on Stas as he established himself with his brand of honky-style polkas. Here's just one example of the ongoing homage Stas loved to pay to his mentor, Little Wally. He sang it from those earliest days of his first album, The Honky Sound of Polkas, and 3 decades later, it would appear on a CD called Stas Golonka Live. Here's Leaving for the Service.
1, 2.
Siadłem się na konika starego. Wycieszyłem konika, siadłem się na konika starego. dziewczyna, moja droga, jedyna płakała.
In 2002, the music of Stas Golonka achieved national acclaim when selections from his CD, Horn If You're Honky, were included in a compilation recording called Deeper Polka, produced by the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. On September 3rd, 2016, Stanley J. Stas Golonka received the ultimate in honor and recognition when he was inducted into the International Polka Association's Hall of Fame. This was the I.P.A. formally acknowledging what polka fans had known for decades, that Stas Golonka deserved to be enshrined among the greats of polka music as the King of Honky. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time, thank you for your attention throughout this presentation, and most of all, thank you for joining us in acknowledging the true classic in polka music, the King of Honky, Stas Golonka.
And how about it for Mark Tiplach, everyone, doing an excellent job narrating Stas's biography. Here we go, a song, signature tune for Stas, most really called Forget Me Never. And we're going to send this out especially for all of you out-of-towners. Thank you for bringing the folk music here to Ludlow and for supporting the I.P.A. And I'd like to also send this song out, Forget Me Never, especially to a friend of mine in memory of our buddy, Mr. Ricky Fiderick, who is certainly gone but not forgotten. Here's one of Ricky's favorites called Forget Me Never. Here we go. If I should go, forget me never. Please say that you remember me. I pray the dreams we shared together will shine bright in your memory. Each time a star falls out of heaven, it leaves the sky in deeper blue. But if we part, forget me never. And don't forget my love for you. And don't forget my love for you. If I should go, forget me never. Please say that you remember me. I pray the dreams we shared together will shine bright in your memory. Each time the star falls out of heaven, it leaves the sky in deeper blue. But if we part, forget me never. And don't forget my love for you. And don't forget my love for you. If I should go, forget me never. Please say that you remember me. I pray the dreams we shared together will shine light in your memory. Each time the star falls out of heaven, it leaves the sky in deeper blue. But if we part, forget me never. And don't forget my love for you. And don't forget my love for you.
Kaczynski, Al Piatkuski, Timmy Vignarz, Lenny Gomulka.
Thank you, everybody.
Before we close, I'd just like to let you know that the I.P.A. will be sending a special certificate of appreciation to Stas. And the certificate reads, "It is our privilege to honor Stas Golonka for all his years of providing excellence with his music and attending the highest recognition in the polka industry. Granted this March 12, 2017, Richard Rzeszutko, President of the I.P.A. This will be going to Stas."
We take our hats off to Stas Golonka. Mark Czepacz, thank you. What a great job you did.
Thank you.
I.P.A. International Folk Association, Eddie Shella, Freddie Pinjerski, thank you for bringing this type of an event right here to our little town, Ludlow. And we're going to do one more Stas tune, if we may, do just one more there for you, one that we started out with, and I had the opportunity of recording this song with Stas Golonka way back on his second album. It's called Life Together Polka, and if anyone has this on video, I'd like to ask you to please send it to Stas or put it up on Facebook, and I'm sure he's going to see it. But I want to say to you, Stas Golonka, thank you for all the years of happiness. Thank you for bringing polka music to all the audiences throughout the country, and thanks for being my friend, Stas Golonka, real classy guy from the south side of Chicago. Here we go, as done by Stas. Life Together Polka, here we go. Sunshine days, in our hearts we'll love forever, in every our wedding day. Świeci